What's up everybody, T-Wolves2016 here with another video. I know I'm uploading another video, which seems really weird because I didn't upload my last one too long ago. But I wanted to kind of touch base and kind of just see, not only how y'all are doing, but just to do a video about something that I've actually had the idea of. I actually originally, excuse me, my face itched. I actually had the idea to make this video last night, but after about 20 minutes of video, I realized that I was just rambling on and on and on, and there was no structure to it. And I feel like this is better suited for something that is structured in nature. So, either way, today, as you can probably tell by the name of the video, we will be looking at 6 reasons why I think it's justified that Chicago has had the most outdoor game appearances, and 3 reasons why I think they really should stop. Why I think it's not really justified. Why I think they should maybe stop showing up in all these games. So either way, without further ado, the video will start right after this sponsor. Oh wait, I'm not sponsored because I'm not monetized. Oh well, I'm just so used to seeing that on other YouTube channels. So either way, to do this, I stayed up really late last night. I have a few pages of research that is just the history of the games and then the tally by team. And then I have a whole notebook full of notes. It's all written in red pen because why not? So that being said, without further ado, like I said, let's get into the video. So I'm going to structure this in 3 reasons why they should be in these games and 3 reasons why they shouldn't be. But to keep myself from rambling, I have my phone on me, and I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. So I have 1 minute to discuss everything I want to discuss on each particular point, so I'm not rambling and going on and on and on and on and on. It may make what I'm saying a little rushed, but I'm trying to make this video not last forever. And to, not show any bias, I'm actually wearing my Colorado Avalanche Stadium Series jersey, good old Nathan MacKinnon. And first of all, I love this jersey. I love the design of it. I love LA's. I do like this design a little bit more, but I think it's kind of cool. And I think it's really funny how there's a lot of people who are like, man, that jersey is one of the ugliest I've ever seen, and now it's really well selling. It sells really well because just, ugly sells, I guess. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into why Chicago should be in this mini unit. Starting with point number 1, they are an extremely marketable team. According to an SB Nation article that I will link to in the description below, both hockey fans and non-hockey fans alike are more than likely to name Chicago as one of the most popular teams to watch. Patrick Kane has even said that he thinks that they're a very marketable team. I don't remember the context of what that was in, but even Patrick Kane realizes that he's a marketable team. Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith are some of the most recognizable star players on their team, on one team in the NHL. Chicago is as SB Nation puts it, a market rating darling, which means it's very, they're very popular. They are typically among the highest in average attendance every year, and they have been voted the best sweaters in the NHL. I did all that with 2 seconds to spare. I'm going to touch on a couple of these just to, but those are just the main reasonings. They're typically one of the highest. I think I've seen that they have one of the highest average attendances over the last several years. And I think that really bodes well towards showing that they're a very marketable team. They're a very popular team and that people tune in to watch the Chicago Blackhawks play. The being voted the best sweaters is kind of thrown in there at the end. It's not really a great reason in my own opinion, but I just thought about it and I thought it would look good on here, primarily because you may not, being voted the best sweaters just kind of means that they're recognizable to me. So that being said, we are going to reset, and we're going to start off with point number 2. Point number 2 is their recent success. Between 2010 and 2019, Chicago won 3 Stanley Cups and played in 5 outdoor games, of which they only won 1, but we'll get to that later. They are the hockey guys' #1 team for the 2010s, and Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, and Duncan Keith all had great decades stats-wise. I think some of these really speak for themselves. Obviously, you're tired of hearing your Hawks fans go, "Oh man, won 3 cups in 3 years or whatever, or 3 cups in 6 years or whatever." But I think it speaks to the popularity of the Blackhawks, and I think it ties in with the fact that they're a marketable team. Is that they've been winning games. They are a very marketable team because they are so popular. You love to hate them, and you hate to love them. And I think this is real. I think this really bodes well for why Chicago should be in these outdoor games. Next, and finally, the last point I'm going to make is they have a very rich history both in the NHL and in Chicago sports lore. Chicago sports fans are diehard Chicago sports fans. They love their teams and they love to see their teams win. Now that's true for most every city in the world. Chicago more so than a lot of other cities I've seen. Chicago has a very passionate fan base, whether you're talking about football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever. They have a very passionate and loyal fan base. Being an original 6 team has a very big, weight on this. And the fact that they've been around for a long time and they have this rich history with all these different jersey designs to choose from and pay homage to when they're doing these outdoor series, that a lot of these other teams don't necessarily have these retro jerseys that they can reference. And I think that's what makes the Chicago a good target. All right, I finished that in just over a minute. I will touch, but now I'm going to sum up the entire thing. I think it's very simple why Chicago, to some degree, I think it's kind of simple why Chicago has been in so many outdoor stadium series. They are obviously a very marketable team. They had success in the 2010s, and they have a rich history in the NHL. I think like SB Nation calls them, they're a market rating darling. They bring viewers, and I think that the fact that they keep bringing viewers is why the NHL keeps going back to that well and keeps going, we need more Blackhawks, we need people to watch this outdoor game, so we're going to go get more Blackhawks things. Now I'm going to get into 3 reasons, and I think they're very justifiable reasons. I think I'm going to get into 3 reasons why Chicago has played in too many outdoor games, why I think they should, and why I think maybe the NHL should tone out. I'm going to give myself a minute 30 to talk about each one of these because there's a lot to some of these, and I just want to make sure I hit all the points without running out of time. So actually, we'll set it at 2 minutes. All right, starting now. The number 1 reason why I think that Chicago should not keep playing in outdoor games is they have a very poor record for having the most appearances. They have, according to this little stat sheet, they have 6 outdoor appearances, which is more than anyone else in the NHL. The next closest is Pittsburgh with 5. But either way, you look at it, and they're 1-5 in outdoor games, and they have played in 4 Winter Classics and lost all 4. They're 0-4. In 2009, they lost 6-4 versus Detroit. In 2015, they lost 3-2 versus Washington. In 2017, they lost 4-1 against St. Louis. And in 2019, they lost 4-2 versus Boston. That means they are being outscored 17-9 in Winter Classic games. And for reference, there are 3 teams who I think have relatively better, that have better win-loss. They're not just 3 teams. There's a lot of teams that have better records than the Blackhawks. But the ones I want to highlight are the New York Rangers, who are 4-0. 4-0 in outdoor series games. The Washington Capitals are 3-0 in outside games. And the Ottawa Senators are 2-0 in outside games, which I think is kind of funny because now they're kind of the laughingstock of the NHL. But either way, that being said, looking at all that, there are people who are better in outdoor games. Now, being devil's advocate in this, and I'm just going to say it because I know someone might say it in the comment section, yes, I understand that you're looking at this as one game. And I understand that. You can't look at one game and be like, oh, well, this, that, and the other. Because your chances of winning any other game are just, there are reasons like injuries and other stuff like that as to, why you should or shouldn't be able to do this or play in these outdoor games. But I think with what we have now, the hard stats right now, I think that there are teams that perform better outside. And I think if the NHL could market that a little bit better, I think the NHL would have a lot more interest. Point number 2 I'm going to make is they are missing out on other markets who they're missing out on other rich hockey markets that could really benefit from having an outdoor game or participating in an outdoor game nonetheless. There are 5 teams that have never played outside: Arizona, Columbus, Florida, Tampa Bay, and Vegas. Now, if we're going to go based off of just attendance, so these are the 2019-2020 average attendance. Arizona and Columbus are 28th and 23rd in the league, respectively. People do not show up to their games. It's sad, but it's true. People do not show up to these games. And I think an outdoor game would be a really good way to spark interest back in these teams. I also think with both of those teams, they have a rich enough history where you can make a really cool retro-esque design, or you could even just ditch, retro and just kind of try to go something like, off the wall like these Stadium Series jerseys are. And I think that'd be really cool. Florida is 29th in the league, so Florida can get thrown in with that one. Tampa Bay and Vegas are 5th and 13th in the league overall. I think Tampa Bay being 5th in the league and never having played in an outdoor game, I think with how much of a rise they've had recently, I think Tampa Bay should get a outdoor game because I think they deserve it. They played really well recently. I mean, they got swept in the first round by Columbus, but I mean, that's going to happen. You're going to get swept in the first round by a team at some point. It's the playoffs. Anything can happen. But they've been on such an uptick lately, and they've had such a great boost in popularity that I really think that they could benefit from all of this. I'm going to give myself a little bit more time because that was 2 minutes talking about my first point. That was 2 minutes talking about just like the first little bullet point I have for that reason. I'm going to try to get through the rest of this kind of quickly so I'm not rambling. That being said, so like I was saying, to wrap that all home, I think any one of these markets could really benefit, and Vegas being 13th, I think any one of these teams, like I said, could really benefit from having an outdoor game, because I think it would bring the public eye to their city and to their team and make it more intriguing and make people want to watch that team, because now everyone's talking about how Arizona might lose their team, and Arizona doesn't want to lose their team, but they don't have attendance numbers. So that being said, we're going to move on to the next bullet point. Since 2008, there have been 29 outdoor games, and if we're going to include the 2003 Heritage Classic, which you can choose whether you want to or not. So I'm just going to count when they started doing this as a yearly thing. In 2008, they brought back the idea of doing the Winter Classic. And since 2008, there have been 29 outdoor games. Only 10 of those 29, so practically a third of those games, have not included original 6 teams. Have not included any original 6 teams whatsoever. And I think that is another mistake by the NHL. I think they can't keep going to this well of having original 6 teams play in outdoor games to try to, promote, viewership. I think if you let other teams have an opportunity to show themselves and prove themselves on this big stage, I think you'd be really surprised with what would happen. Like I said, they're missing out on passionate hockey markets that could need a kickstart. Columbus, Florida, Arizona, all these teams could really use a kickstart and kind of use something to rally around. And I think that being in an outdoor game could really help this doing it. And it'd be an NHL thing that the NHL could also market it as that. 5 outdoor games have featured 2 original 6 teams playing against each other. So of those 19 games that have been played featuring original 6 teams, 5 of them, so only a quarter, but it's a quarter of them, basically. Because that's 5 out of 19. So that's basically 5 out of 20, which is basically 1 out of 4. It's fudging the math a little bit, but percentages aren't exact anyway. Well, not entirely. I should know that. I took statistics. Wasn't great at it, but I took it. But 5 of those 19 games have featured 2 original 6 teams going at it. And like I said, I just think they're running that well dry. I think people are getting tired of seeing the same teams in the outdoor games, in the Winter Classics, in the Stadium Series. They want to see new teams. They want to see Colorado versus Los Angeles. Not necessarily a rivalry, but 2 teams that have a rich history in the NHL. Like I was saying with the Blackhawks, they also have these 2 teams, Colorado and LA, both have a rich history in the NHL. And I think it would be beneficial for them to do that. That being said, we're going to move on to my third point. I'm not even going to use the clock because it doesn't matter. You can ask almost anyone. Winter Classics are getting boring to watch. And more specifically to the Blackhawks has been their poor recent play. Because these are supposed to be all about the Blackhawks. So, by choosing Chicago, they're overlooking a lot of rich hockey markets. And I think with Chicago's poor play, I think they need a break from outdoor games. They need a break to kind of rebuild or retool and kind of get back to a competitive edge, because I know they'll get there. It's just when they'll get there. Original 6 teams have combined for 24 outdoor game appearances, while the rest of the league has combined for 40. Now, there are 6 teams. It took 6 teams to make that 24. It took 20 teams to hit that 40 games. And I don't know, like I said about the last one, I think they're running that route. I think they're running the well a little dry when it comes to choosing the same teams over and over and over for these outdoor games. St. Louis is getting another Winter Classic after they played Chicago in 2017 in the Winter Classic. And I think the whole marketing scheme around St. Louis, I think it's working really well. I mean, people are talking about it. People are like, man, are you seeing all the stuff that St. Louis is getting to participate in? And they're all like, yeah, it's really cool. It's according, to a lot of the St. Louis fans I know, they're like, this is a really good time to be a Blues fan, because you are looking at it like, excuse me. Because you're looking at it like they've shown a lot of recent success. They had the 2018 Cup, 2019, they won the 2019 Cup, the 2020 All-Star Game, and now they're playing in the 2021 Winter Classic alongside Minnesota. And I think in Minnesota, and I think that'd be really cool. I think it'll be really cool. I think it's a great opportunity. Like I said, I think they're jumping in on this prime market. And I think if they tapped into that and they found that, if they looked for teams that have had recent success and are seeing spikes in viewership, you could throw them in outdoor games. 2020, the original 6 win-loss record in these outdoor games is 13-11, which, I mean, 2 of the 2 teams that have gone undefeated in Winter Classics that aren't original 6 teams are Washington and Ottawa, were a combined 5-0 in outdoor games. And I think, and then there's a bunch of teams that went 1-0. Dallas has gone 1-0. Minnesota went 1-0 when they played Chicago. But, I mean, like I said, that win-loss record looks a little eh. The 2020 Winter Classic featured no original 6 teams and had 85,000 plus in the stands. I believe I actually have the number here. Yes, it was 85,630 was the official attendance, which is second all-time for a Winter Classic, second to the 2014 season when Toronto and Detroit played for a crowd of 105,491. Now, the one thing I will say about these is they should have a little bit of an asterisk next to them, because if you look at it, I think that stadium capacity should factor into this, because obviously if you have a really large ass stadium, you know, I think it means something different than if you don't. That being said, the 2020 Stadium Series had 43,000 plus in attendance, which I think shows there is a viewership and there is an audience, a target audience for these different teams to play in these outdoor games, and you don't always have to go back to the same teams over and over and over again and run that well dry, because there's no point in it. There's no point in doing any of that if you're going to keep having the same teams there. People are going to want to stop watching. So, that being said, that's the video, or that's all my points. So that was 3 reasons why I think Chicago should be in these outdoor games, and 3 reasons why maybe they shouldn't be, or the NHL should lay off in the amount of outdoor games that Chicago is playing. As a Blackhawks fan, I will stand adamantly behind that. I do love watching them play outdoors. But I can understand the rest of the NHL's frustrations with the idea that they don't get to see their teams play very often, and that can get frustrating, and so I understand that. So that being said, I honestly feel like I fall right in the middle of, I can see why Chicago's been in as many games, but I think the NHL should stop going to that well, because they're running it dry, and they're going to run viewership down. Maybe not like drop off a cliff, but your viewership will keep going down if it's just like 2022 Winter Classic's going to be Montreal versus Chicago, because we haven't had that outdoor game yet, and it's just like we don't need that. We don't need to have a round robin tournament of in original 6 teams playing each other. And like I said, I feel like the biggest point I could make for why they've been in too many is the NHL's missing out on a lot of passionate hockey markets that could really use that kick in the butt from, in ratings, from being in an outdoor game, from having all the hype, from having the additional revenue of having these additional jerseys. And, if we're going to go talk about Arizona, Columbus, Florida, there's a lot of really cool designs in their past that I think that they could incorporate with something new. And I think it'd be really cool. Like I said, you'd get additional revenue, you'd get additional viewership, and you'd get a lot of people, who want to watch these things, and it would make sense. So that being said, this has been 3 reasons why Chicago has played in as many outdoor games, or 3 reasons why I believe they should play in these outdoor games, and 3 reasons why maybe the NHL should... and 3 reasons why maybe the NHL should lean off of that. Everyone has an opinion, and I'd love to hear yours, so please leave your opinion in the comments section below. If you think I've missed any points, or you have any corrections for any of my statistics, please also let me know in the comments section below. I'm always open to hearing anything you guys have to hear, and so I hope you guys enjoy. That being said, this has been a little bit longer of a video than I wanted, but that's just gonna happen. I did a lot of research for this, actually. I'm gonna link the Sports Nation, or the SB Nation article that I use for a lot of my stuff in the description, just so that you can go check that out if you want. But that being said, I hope you have a good morning, evening, night, dusk, dawn, whenever you're watching this. I know I didn't say that in my last one. I'm sorry. And I hope that you guys are all staying happy, and I hope you guys are staying happy, safe, and healthy. That being said, have a great week.